Alright guys, so we have another decision making tool in MQL4 and that is a switch statement. So how do you write a switch statement? So let me quickly take this out. So by default what we do is we say a switch, right? Then we give the expression, right? So the expression will go here. Then we say we have a curly brace. Then we say in case of this, so you can see this case is taken just like this switch identifier is taken. So in case of this, so if this happens, so this expression, so that means if this expression is equal to this, we want to do something, which is whatever is expressed here. Then we have another case. Then we have another expression, maybe expression 2 and so on. So this statement will happen, and we can also have another one, expression maybe expression 2 and so on. Oops, then this. And also we have the option to add just like the if, else if, else if, else if, then lastly else. So we can have one called default. So this is more like saying if this case is not met, this case is not met, the third case is not met, in fact all the cases are not met, just go and do this. So that is equivalent to this. So I can say in the case of age, let's say the age is okay, in the case of age, since we already declared it, so we already declared it as an input, right? So we can simply say switch. We want to consider the age as the expression. So we are going to be comparing the age with whatever we are going to specify for each case. So we are going to say, in the case where the age is, let's say 18, we want to do this, we want to say something. Maybe you want to say old enough, and let's say in the case where your age is 19, okay, let's say in case where your age is 17, you want to say not old enough, not old enough. Maybe in the case where we are expecting a certain parameters, for example. So let's assume we are expecting values that is within a particular range, more like the norm that we spoke about in the previous lectures. So that means you already know the options. So I just want you to assume that, okay, maybe you're expecting values that is either 18, 17, right? And of course the default. So let's say the value that is given is not 18, is not 17. Then you want to say out of option, out of options. So you can take this out. So let's save and compile to see that in action. So I will launch this, and you can see it is asking me that what is my age. So it is telling me out of option. So now why is it telling me out of option? So let me break this down to you. So this is because when it entered this switch case, so it realized that, okay, is the age equal to 18? No, it is not. So it went to this case. Is this age equal to 17? Yes, it is. So it is meant to say not old enough, and you realize that it said not old enough. So let me, oops, I do not know. Okay, you know what? Let's check this out from here. So now we are going to do it again, and we say 17. You realize that it said not old enough. So yeah, you can see it said not old enough, but at the same time it said out of option. So this is it. The problem is that when you have after meeting a criteria, if you do not want to go lower to continue looking for the condition, the expression, what you can do, you can introduce a statement called break, meaning that yes, you've seen that this expression matches this case. So after doing this operation, please break. Do not continue looking for other case or trying to go out for the default. So that is what it means. So just like this as well, we can also add the case. So in general, we can include that after doing all of these statements, after having this statement, you can also have your break statement. So you can have your breaks like this. So you can also have it like this. Oops, you can have it like this. Yeah, and year, So that is what I'm trying to say. So you can have the statement year. So after having your statement, try to add a break if you do not have intention of still looking out. If you do not have intention of looking at the bottom for other cases that might match this. So this will stop the problem of getting the case that match and still going below to see other options, right? So let me quickly save and compile. So this is not restricting, conditions, it's not restricting execution, just like if. So it's not so it's limited. Number one, you have to know the options that is coming. Number two, you have to always specify break if you do not want to go lower after seeing the condition, right? So now let me clear this. Then I will launch this again. So I will say 17. So let's see what it's going to. So it is telling me that you can see that it is only telling me not old enough. You can see it is only telling me not old enough, and that is because now I've added break, telling me that when you've seen the condition, break out of this switch case compared to when I was not using the break statement. So when it saw this, when it noticed that the age matches 17, it printed this, then it still continue looking for criteria. Then it eventually printed the default because I did not add break statement. So when you're using your switch statement, depending on the logic you're writing, you should decide if you should add break or not. And in the case where you want to, what you are, in most cases, you will need the break. So now the question is, why not just keep using if? Because, for example, someone like me, because I do not like using the switch statement, I believe everything I can possibly need or use the decision making in general for, I can do with if. Yes, but like I said, you need to know these concepts because you might end up having someone who loves using if, or who believe that he or she needs to use if, and maybe you have you have the chance of getting the person's code. You should be able to read the person's code. As if you are really into MQL4, you should be able to read any code that is written in MQL4, right? Especially these basic things. So I have dealt with, maybe when I was trying to convert from MQL4 to MQL5 or something, and maybe I'm trying to modify a project for someone because, like I said, I'm a freelancer and I've been freelancing for years. So I've dealt with a lot of code, a lot of people different writing different things in different manner. So if I do not understand this concept, I might find it hard to understand what the person is trying to do and on that particular block of code or that particular lines. In general, even if you are fine, or maybe you think if is comfortable, if is fine for whatever you need, yes, I agree. But still, you need to understand other concepts so that if you have your chance with another person's code who is implementing what you do not like implementing, you should be able to read this. So once again, in the case where you find it hard to understand this concept, so you can just go over the lecture once again, and by the time you go over it, you feel better and try to move forward. And as you see me put this concept together, you will understand this basic concept. So I'll see you in the next lecture.